The sound that shattered the solemn quiet of the lawyer's office wasn't just a laugh. It was a weapon. It was my brother, Josh, and his voice, slick with triumph, was a blade honed over a lifetime. "You got the old dump," he sneered. The words meant to cut. "I got the empire. Dad's $4 million business is mine. You got a house that's falling apart." The air grew thick with the discomfort of our relatives, but Josh didn't care. He never did. What he didn't know, what no one in that room knew, was that our father had been a master strategist. He hadn't just built a business, he had built a test. And hidden within the walls of that dump was the final exam. By the time Josh figured it out, his empire would be dust. Dad had played the ultimate long game, and I was the only one who knew the rules. My father died on a Tuesday. The heart attack was as sudden as a slammed door. He was 68. Until that moment, a part of me had believed a man like him was indestructible. At Riverside Methodist Church, the scent of lily and old wood couldn't mask the hollow ache of his absence. I sat alone in the front pew, my gaze fixed on the flag-draped casket. He was a veteran, a man who had built his life from nothing. For me, he was just Dad. Josh arrived late, a spectacle in a Tom Ford suit. He didn't mourn. He networked, shaking hands and playing the grieving son with a chilling proficiency, his phone glowing between condolences. He was always performing. I was just the audience. We were never close. I was the quiet son, the one with sawdust on his jeans and his nose in a book. Josh was the golden child football captain, homecoming king, the heir apparent. At Sunday dinners, Dad would lean in, hungry for details of Josh's latest deals. He then turned to me, his smile softening. "And how's the house coming along?" It was a question that always felt like a dismissal, a confirmation that my life was a quaint hobby. 3 days later, in the cold formality of the attorney's office, the dismissal became official. "To my son Joshua, I leave my business, Campbell Printing Solutions. Valued at approximately $4 million. Josh's grin was a victory flag. It was everything he had ever wanted. "To my son, Daniel," Mr. Harrison continued, and I held my breath. "I leave the family home at 17 Oak Street." The silence was a physical weight. And then Josh laughed. The sound was brutal, derisive. "The old house? That's it. Guess we know who Dad's real son was, huh?" The familiar sting of second place burned behind my eyes. I signed the papers in silence, my signature of final, quiet surrender. Behind me, I could hear Josh already on the phone, crowing about his empire, his future, his victory. That night, I found myself drawn to the old craftsman house at the end of Oak Street. To Josh, it was a dump. To me, it was a sanctuary of memories. The peeling paint and weary shutters couldn't hide the ghost of summer evenings on the porch of my father's hands guiding mine, teaching me how to level a shelf, to read a story in the grain of wood, to find the value in things others would throw away. Inside, the air was still heavy with his presence, his reading glasses, a half-finished crossword, the faint, ghostly scent of his coffee. It was a museum of a life I thought had overlooked me. In his bedroom, a hollow thump behind his dresser betrayed the secret. A hidden keypad behind a loose baseboard. With trembling fingers, I entered the only number that made sense. My mother's birthday. Click. Inside the fireproof safe was not just an inheritance, but an absolution. A letter, in my father's firm script, began, "Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you found what I needed you to find." This was never about money. This was about knowing my sons. He has seen Josh's ambition, but also his fatal arrogance. "I'm giving Josh the business because he expects it. I need to know if he can handle it, or if he was just riding on my reputation." Then he wrote about me. "You were always different, Daniel. You never needed the spotlight. You learned by watching. You fixed things. You reminded me of myself. The house was only the beginning. The real gift is at First National Bank. I've been setting money aside for you since you were 10. This is yours. You've earned it by being the son who never asked for anything. I sat on his bedroom floor, the dam of my composure breaking. For the first time since he died, I wept not from grief, but from the overwhelming understanding that I had never been invisible, I had been seen. The safe deposit box held the proof, $3.2 million in stocks, bonds, and trusts. Your father was a very wise man, the bank manager said, her gaze one of deep respect. I told no one. Instead, I watched, I listened. The calls from Josh started a few weeks later, laced with condescension. A new contract signed. A veiled jab about my fixer-upper. I let his words wash over me, saying nothing. Then, as Dad predicted, the empire began to crack. The calls changed. Senior employees were fired. Bad investments were made. Clients fled. Josh's confidence curdled into desperation. Dan, I need a loan. Just $50,000. Dad would want you to help me. The irony was a bitter pill. Dad left you a $4 million company, I said, my voice calm. He left me a house. Your failure is not my problem. The final call came 9 months later. The empire had fallen. Bankruptcy. Creditors. I'm losing everything, he whispered, a broken king in a ruined castle. You could have asked for help, I said. You could have listened. Dad didn't give you that business because he thought you'd succeed. He gave it to you to see what you'd do with it. It was a test, Josh. And you failed. The silence on the line was profound. And you? He finally asked, his voice hollow. What did he give you? Exactly what I needed. 2 years have passed. The house on Oak Street is restored, not just the wood and paint, but his soul. I used my father's gift wisely, starting a small carpentry business that fills me with a pride no empire ever could. Josh and I don't speak. I heard he's rebuilding his life, humbler now. Perhaps he needed the fall. Last month, I visited my parents' graves. I placed white roses for my mother and sat on the bench, the wind whispering through the oaks. You were teaching me the whole time, weren't you? I said aloud. You weren't ignoring me. You were preparing me. In the quiet that followed, I felt his presence, strong and sure. Josh received what he wanted, a kingdom of sand, built to wash away. I received what I needed, a foundation of stone, built to last. The greatest inheritance isn't the fortune you're given. It's the character you build, the patience you learn, and the quiet strength to build your own empire, one honest piece at a time. Dad knew his sons. He didn't give us what we wanted. He gave us exactly what we deserved.